Ma'am, you're the host now.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. We are back to discussing GAT question papers. Today, our primary aim is to discuss the question papers that you guys attempted on the 4th and 5th of July. Okay, so here we are. Before that, before we actually begin with those papers, there was something from yesterday's discussion that I'd like to bring up again. There was this question 123. You were giving the following statements. The intertropical convergence zone shifts northward during the northern hemisphere summer. The shift of the ITCC is linked to the differential heating of land and sea, and the onset of the Indian monsoon is associated with the northward shift of the ITCC. Okay. So, of these, yesterday I had said that this definitely works, that yes, the intertropical convergence zone shifts northward during the northern hemisphere. Okay. The reason being that the apparent movement of the sun, and of course, the second reason was that it is linked to the differential heating of the land and sea. I had told you yesterday that the apparent movement of the sun is the primary reason that the belts actually shift either northward or southward. If the sun is, say, suppose if this is the equator, I had said yesterday, if this is the equator, this is the Tropic of Cancer, and this is the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, we say this is the Tropic of Capricorn. So ideally, the apparent movement of the sun is the movement of the sun within this part. Okay, you are saying this is where the sun usually moves. It goes from in March, it is on the equator. The sun is directly above the equator. On 21st June, the sun is directly above the Tropic of Cancer. On 22nd September, the sun is again back on the equator. And on 22nd December, the sun is back at the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay. So this is the apparent movement of the sun. Now, because the sun keeps moving from March to June, since the sun is going to move in this direction, if the sun is going to move from the equator towards the Tropic of Cancer, then clearly what happens is that all the belts, because these pressure belts are evolved due to thermal, they have a thermal origin, also dynamic but mostly thermal. So we are saying that because of the movement of the sun and because of the insolation that different latitudes receive, the pressure belts are going to either shift completely northward or completely shift southward. Okay, so this definitely happens. The ITCZ, the shift of the ITCZ is also linked to the differential heating of land and sea, because you have a large amount of land in the northern hemisphere as compared to the southern hemisphere also, and as compared to water also. Okay, if you look at the northern hemisphere, clearly the amount of land is far more. Okay, and land has this quality that it heats up also very quickly and cools down also very quickly. So when it is summer in the northern hemisphere, clearly the land heats up very quickly and it develops a high temperature low pressure zone. Okay, so because of that, the ITCC shifts a little upward. So here we'll have to consider all three statements as correct. Yesterday I had told you that only two of these should be considered correct, because I had wrongly assumed that we should go with the apparent movement of the sun as the primary reason. But since the shift of the ITCC is also linked to the differential heating of the land and sea, then we'll have to go with this statement also. Okay, so we will go, the answer should be 1, 2, and 3. We are going with all three here. Okay, that's the only thing that we are doing from yesterday. Now we will go to the 4th of July paper. Okay, here we are. Question 121. We begin here. The dispute about the Mulla Periyar Dam concerns which states? Okay, we are talking about the dispute between a dam, the Mulla Periyar Dam, and your options are Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Andhra and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Karnataka. You know the answer should be with Kerala. Okay, you know that the answer should ideally be between Kerala, because you are mentioning the Periyar. You're talking about the Periyar. That's a very famous river in Kerala. So you know that the Mulla Periyar Dam is based on the Periyar River. So Kerala has to be a part of this dispute. Okay, so the option here is going to be Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Okay, this is a dispute between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. What has happened is, no, not this one. Okay, we'll look at this part. Okay, we are saying this is the Mulla Periyar Dam. Okay, can you see the Mulla Periyar Dam? Okay, now this is a old structure. Okay, the dispute is basically between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Kerala maintains that the dam is a very old structure, and if the dam collapses, okay, especially if you're raising the water levels and clearly stressing the structure of the dam, then clearly if the dam collapses, then all the disadvantage will be to the people who live downstream the dam, right? The dam is going to collapse and all that water is going to flow downstream, which means you are going to seriously bring into problem the people living in this region, okay, downstream from the dam. Okay, so that is the problem. Whereas Tamil Nadu maintains that the dam is a quite sturdy structure. Nothing has happened to the dam much so far, and clearly Kerala is blocking all movements regarding all sorts of concerns regarding the restructuring or the solidification or strengthening of the dam. Tamil Nadu says that Kerala keeps opposing all that. So clearly, if the dam has to be strengthened, then we can take those measures. But Tamil Nadu requires the dam to be in its place and with a certain water level, because 5 districts depend upon this dam, okay, upon the Mulla Periyar Dam. So clearly, and even though the dam ideally lies in Kerala, the operating lease happens to be with the Tamil Nadu government, okay, because it was some 999-year-old British lease from the British era. So that treaty is still in process or still in operation, and clearly Tamil Nadu operates the dam, and Kerala has a problem with that. That is the whole gist of the dispute, okay. So Mulla Periyar Dam on the river Periyar, and that lies between Kerala and even though it lies in Kerala, the dispute is between Tamil Nadu and Kerala because Tamil Nadu operates the dam. Okay, okay, is this good? All right, we'll take this off. All right. So here your answer is going to be Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Okay, that is going to be the answer. We are looking for Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Moving on to the next question. In the state of Jharkhand, the forests recognized as reserve forests allow all activities generally, both completely prohibits all activities and all activities generally, completely prohibits all activities unless permitted. Okay. Now, the general idea of forests are that it is, it is a place usually. The reason why we are even discussing these options is because forests were generally tended to or taken care of by and also depended upon by a number of tribes that lived in those forests. Okay, now these were people who used to live there even in the British era and everything, and most of these tribes used to engage in hunting, gathering, generally. So they depended on the forest for everything. Okay, now as and how you have eased into the administrative government, the Indian administration, we have realized that people have to be brought into the mainstream. Okay, you cannot always expect tribes to stay in forests, and clearly we have also to protect the forests. Okay, there are environmental concerns regarding protection of forests. So clearly what the government tries to do is try to bring the people, especially the tribals who live in the forest and depend upon the forest, as much as possible you try to bring them into the mainstream. Okay, but that is not always possible because sometimes some forests are not because forests are not very easy to take care of. Okay, even though you have a scientific background, there is also some tradition behind taking care of forests. So there are people who live in those forests who will depend on the forests, and who generally know how to behave or take care of the forests. Okay, so we are looking at the government usually tries to recognize their rights also as traditional dwellers in the forest, and also the government usually tries to strike a balance between this. Okay, now this is for general forests. Okay, if you're going to allow some tribes to stay over there and do their economic activities in the forest, that is for the general forest. When you talk about reserve forests, you are trying to block all sorts of human activities because it's a very huge environmental concern now. Okay, when you talk of reserve forests, you're really trying to protect the forest from all sorts of human interference. Okay, so let alone hunting is generally banned in India, but let alone hunting, even gathering or something would not be allowed in forest. No forest resources will be allowed to use unless you have permissions from the government for that. Okay, so it will generally ban. The option here should be that the government in reserve forest, the government generally bans all human activities except those that are explicitly permitted, the things that have been acquired permissions for. Okay, so if you wish to perform any activity in those forests, then you have to take government permissions from the government. Okay, only then you can do anything in the reserve forest. Is this clear? So this is going to be the answer. Question 123, afforestation. Afforestation is a process of clearing forests, planting more trees, cutting down trees, collecting forest resources. Collecting forest resources is just gathering, the primary occupation of gathering. Cutting down trees or clearing forests is almost one and the same. that is called as deforestation. Okay, afforestation is planting more trees. Okay, the reason why we plant more trees is we've already discussed this multiple times, right? We say that one, first of all, when you plant a tree, say especially in the forests which are on slopes or something like that, if you plant a tree over here, what does the tree usually do? It will hold on to the soil. Okay, the roots of those trees will hold on to the soil, and it will stop the, or at least minimize the soil erosion as much as possible. Okay, the thing is also that these leaves, these leaves usually fall down into the soil, and those will be, sorry, just one minute. Okay? All right, here we are. So we are saying the reason why we plant trees is the second reason. One, first of all, to minimize the soil erosion and soil degradation. Okay. Secondly, we say that what usually happens is that these leaves will contribute to the humus in the soil. Okay. These leaves are essentially going to fall into the same soil, and they are going to contribute to the humus in the soil and increase the quality of soil. They will generally, it's generally a better quality soil if it has more humus, right? Secondly, third thing is the leaves. Usually, these leaves are responsible for, they perform photosynthesis. Trees will perform photosynthesis as for acquiring nutrition. So what happens is when these leaves perform photosynthesis, they will take carbon dioxide from the air. Okay, that is the input for the process of photosynthesis. So these leaves will also be responsible. It is a kind of a carbon sink. Okay, the carbon dioxide will be absorbed by these trees. So more the number of trees, more the number of leaves, and clearly more the absorption of carbon dioxide. Okay, and we are looking to reduce the carbon dioxide in the environment or the atmosphere, because carbon dioxide acts as a greenhouse gas and it increases the global temperatures. Okay, so clearly we are looking to cut down on the carbon dioxide. We've been releasing that in a little more quantity than normal. Since the past few decades, and we are looking to cut down on it. So planting more trees does that also for us a little. Also, the fourth part is the fourth important point is that these leaves have a process called as transpiration, through which they release moisture or water vapor into the air. Okay, now this moisture or water vapor is essentially going to be the one that is going to contribute, when it is condensed, form clouds, and then that will essentially lead to precipitation. Okay, so it's a multi-pronged and multiple advantages you have from having the afforestation process done. Okay, so afforestation is necessary. All right, moving forward, question 124. The largest tribal community in India is Tharus, Bhils, Santhals, Gonds. Okay, you're looking at different communities, tribal communities in India, and you're looking to see which one of them is the largest one. Okay, the answer here is going to be Bhils. Okay, Bhils are the largest community in India, tribal community. Okay, they form almost 38% of the scheduled tribe population in India. Sorry. Followed by the bills are usually found in either Western India or Central India. Okay, Western and Central India is where you will find them in large populations. So you're looking at, say, MP, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Rajasthan. Okay, you're looking at those places. The second largest tribal group in India is going to be the Gonds. Okay, Gonds are going to be the second largest tribal group, followed by the Santhals. Okay, so this is how bills happen to be the largest tribal group in India. All right. Okay. Moving on to the next question. We are going to question 125. We are discussing Zojila Pass. The Zojila Pass connects Chamba and Spiti, Kalimpong and Lhasa, Arunachal Pradesh and Tibet, Srinagar and Leh. Okay, you're looking at these places. Now, Zojila is a famous pass in the Zaskar Mountains. Okay, now it is in the Zaskar Mountains, so clearly you're not looking at Himachal or West Bengal. This is West Bengal and Tibet, so you're not looking at that place, or Arunachal also. Okay, you're looking at the northern and western part of Himalayas. So your only logical option, even here, your logical option is going to be Srinagar and Leh. Okay, it connects Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. That is essentially the Zojila Pass. You're looking to connect those two places. Okay, It is usually an all-weather pass, but mostly, it is mostly closed down because of heavy snow for almost 4 to 5 months in a year, or 6 months in a year. Now, the thing is that this pass is generally because we use it for both tourism as well as defense movement. We wish for the pass to remain open for a longer time. And usually, what happens here is then that Indian government is looking to instead create a tunnel. Okay, we want a proper road tunnel now instead of an open pass, and that is the Zojila tunnel. We have plans to construct it. Once constructed, it will be Asia's longest road tunnel. Okay, that's the plan. That is the plan. Okay. Here, apart from that, let's look at the rest of the three also. Chamba and Spiti. Chamba and Spiti both lie in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, and the connection to this is not usually a road pass or something. You'll have to go trekking through the mountains. Okay, so that is usually the Kukti Pass. Wait a minute. I'll write down the names over here very clearly so that you would know what they are. For Chamba and this you have Kukti Pass. Okay, it is the pass that the local tribals usually take if they are moving between these two places. Okay, this is a trekking pass. Once again, I remind you, this is not something that you can go by car or something. It's not a road pass. Okay. The next one is Kalimpong and Lhasa. Okay, Kalimpong, like we discussed, lies in West Bengal. Wait a minute. Kalimpong, like we discussed, lies in West Bengal. So, and then you're connecting West Bengal and Lhasa as in Tibet. Okay, so you need a connection between West Bengal and Tibet. So you are looking at the Jalapla Pass. Okay, you're looking at the Jalapla Pass. There is another one, Nathula, which is close by, some 4 to 5 kilometers north of this place. But clearly, that is a different pass. If you're looking for the West Bengal part of the connection, then you will go through Jalapla. Okay, so the one in Sikkim, that's the pass that you're looking at. Okay, now the third one is Arunachal Pradesh and Tibet. Okay, this is famous. You have 2, 3 passes over there. One is the Bumla Pass. Okay, you have the Bumla Pass, and then there is the Bomdila Pass also. Okay, so you have the Bomdila Pass also. All right, so these two passes should ideally do it for the Arunachal Pradesh to Tibet region, or the transition. Okay, वो वाला route के लिए you will have the Bumla or the Bomdila passes. ठीक है? All right. Moving forward, consider the following states in India in terms of percentage of forest area in relation to the total area of the state. Okay, this is an important question. Normally, when UPSC questions you, the kind of questions that they'll ask you is which is the state with the highest percentage of forest area. So you can do this in two ways. To measure the forest, you can do it as a percentage area of forest in relation to the total area of the state. So you know how green the state is. And another way of looking at how green the state is, you will go at looking at the actual acreage, matlab how much area is covered by the forest. Okay, actual amount of area covered by the forest. So that is another way to measure it. Okay, so you will have various states and union territories vying for that honor. Here the question is clearly different. None of these states figure as the highest percentage. Okay, but clearly these are states that you're looking at. So here the order is going to be Odisha first. Kerala first. Kerala has almost 52 to 53% of forest. Okay, you're looking at 52 to 53% of forest. Okay, followed by Odisha, where the percentage of forest is around 33 or something, 33-34% of forest. Okay, and then of course you have Karnataka next. No, Karnataka next with 20% forests. Okay, Karnataka has almost 20% of the total area under forest, and followed by then Andhra, which has only about 17 to 18% of the area under forest. Okay, so if you are looking for a descending order, then it is going to be Kerala, Odisha, Karnataka, Andhra. Okay, so we have 3, 2, 1, 4. We have a 3, 2, 1, 4, and we do not have a ulta one. We don't have a reverse order. So we'll go with 3, 2, 1, 4. Okay, that should be your answer. Please remember, among states, it is Kerala, and then followed by, among these 4 states, it will be Kerala, followed by Odisha, followed by Karnataka, followed by Andhra. Okay, next question. Cardamom Hills lie along the border of Tamil Nadu and Andhra, or Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Here is the next part of the question. We are saying Tamil Nadu and Andhra, or Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Kerala, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Okay, you're looking at Cardamom Hills over here. If you are going to look at Cardamom Hills, we we know that Cardamom Hills are the southernmost part of the Western Ghats, right? We know very well that Cardamom Hills happen to lie in the southernmost part of the Western Ghats. So you know that the answer has to be, closer to the Kerala part of it. Okay, so you are going with Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Okay, Cardamom Hills is Kerala and Tamil Nadu. It is shared by them. Of course, the reason why we call them Cardamom Hills is because it's a huge cardamom growing area. It's a very important cardamom growing region. While we are on this, let me also show you the rest of the. Uh, just 1 second. Oh, see, this is the Zojila Pass we were discussing, right? We were discussing the Zojila Pass, and we said it is the route which connects Srinagar to Ladakh. Okay, so this is the Zojila Pass usually. That is what we were talking about. All right, let's go through all these hills here. These are very important. You are looking at the Cardamom Hills over here. Okay, this is Cardamom. This is Indian Peninsula. We are looking at the Peninsular Plateau. You're looking at that region basically, and these to the west are the Western Ghats, to the east are the Eastern Ghats. And let's take a look at all the hills, major hills in the Eastern and Western Ghats properly. Okay, because we are discussing this question, we'll just look at all the hills very properly. We will start from here. Let's start from here. Okay, Western Ghats. We are saying these are the Cardamom Hills. Okay, over here, can you see this part? This is the Cardamom Hills. Okay, so Cardamom Hills clearly lie between Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Okay, and they are considered as a part of Western Ghats. Okay, all of these will be considered part of the Western Ghats. We are saying that one way or another, if say for example, even if you're looking at the Ajanta range, you will say it is an extension of the Western Ghats. Okay, even though it does not lie properly in the Western Ghats, it's an extension of it. Okay, so we are saying all of these hills lie in the Western Ghats, beginning with the Cardamom Hills at the very south. We say that those lie between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Okay, then above that you have the Agastya Malai. Okay, Agastya Malai. There is even a biosphere, right? By that name, there's even a proper national park and wildlife sanctuary and national park and everything, right? So now you're looking at the Agastya Malai hills. They also lie between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Okay, these will also be shared by Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Huh? And clearly above that you have the Anamalai hills, and over there you have the highest peak over there, the Anaimudi peak. Okay, now the Anaimudi peak is clearly the tallest peak in southern India. Okay, so it is not only the tallest peak of Western Ghats, it is also the tallest peak in southern India, and that will be it belongs to the Anaimalai range, which is again shared by Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And these Anaimudi hills now, you will have three junctions. It lies at the tri-junction of the Anamalai, the Palani hills over here. Can you see the Palani hills over here? Yeah. So the Palani Hills over there and the Cardamom. Okay, so it lies at the junction of these. So this is where you will usually find the Anaimudi. Okay, so this is one is coming. This is going towards the east. This is going towards the south, and then there is Anaimudi, Anaimalai. So clearly, it lies at the tri-junction of these three. Okay, for above that you will find the Nilgiris over here, which are considered as the meeting point of the eastern and the western Ghats. Okay, the Nilgiris will be considered as the meeting point of eastern and western Ghats. So those are the Nilgiris. Now those are famously shared by Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. Okay, so these three states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu on the right, and Karnataka above. Okay, these three states share this Nilgiri Hills. Okay, above that you have the Baba Budan Hills. Okay, famous mineral resource from there. So we are seeing the Baba Budan Hills, which lie in Karnataka, in Western Ghats. Okay, that is the Baba Budan Hills. Now moving forward, let's go to this Harishchandra range. Okay, Harishchandra range lies in Maharashtra. Actually, all of these three, whether it is the Ajanta or the Balaghat or the Harishchandra range, all of them lie in Maharashtra and would ideally be considered a part of the Western Ghats only. Okay, an extension of it, mostly an extension of it. So these three will be there. You have the Harishchandra Hills. This is the Balaghat range over here. And above that, you have the Ajanta Hills or the Ajanta range. Okay, so all of these should ideally be considered part of the Western Ghats. Okay, moving to the Eastern Ghats. Let's look at the Eastern Ghats. You have the Nayagarh Hills over here. Okay, so obviously those are from Odisha. Okay, these lie in Odisha. Mahendragiri also, it lies in Odisha. Okay, Mahendragiri also lies in Odisha. Below that you have the Madagula Kondas. Okay, so that is actually Andhra Pradesh. Okay, it is Andhra. It lies in Andhra Pradesh. Considered that part, the Armakonda and all, is usually considered one of the tallest, second tallest place actually in the Eastern Ghats, tallest or second tallest, okay, depending on where you're going. So, and lastly, then you have in the upper part, you have the Rampa Hills, okay, once again in Andhra Pradesh over here, that is the Rampa Hills. Now look further downward, you have the Velikonda range, okay. Velikonda once again lies in Andhra, okay. Nalamala Hills, those also lie between Andhra and Telangana. Can you see the Nalamala Hills here? They will be shared between Andhra and Telangana, okay. The Lankamala Hills, those belong to Andhra alone. Okay. Palakonda Hills will be again Andhra. Okay. So Palakonda and Lankamala and Velikonda will lie in Andhra. Okay. The Nagari Hills, look at the Nagari Hills once again in Andhra. Okay. These are the Nagari Hills once again in Andhra. Can you see the Jaudi Hills over here? Those will lie in Tamil Nadu. Now you begin with the Tamil Nadu Hills. Jaudi Hills, the Chevroy Hills. Now, the Chevrolet Hills are pretty tall. It seems they have the second highest peak in especially in southern eastern Ghats. They will have the highest peak by the name of Solai Karadu. Okay, so that is Chevrolet Hills for you. Okay, then there is the Pachaimalai Hills, once again Tamil Nadu, and Palni Hills and Varushnad Hills also lie in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so these are those various hills and ranges in the eastern and western Ghats. Usually, the reason why I covered all this is because normally you are asked questions about a bunch of hills. You're given a bunch of hills, four options, and you are asked to choose which of these hills lie in the eastern or the western Ghats or do not lie in the eastern or the western Ghats. Okay, so be careful which of these are you looking at and what your answer should be. Okay, so this is for the eastern and western Ghats both. All right, moving forward. We're done with hills, right? Yeah. Question 128. Which is correctly matched. You have the towns and the rivers on the banks, the rivers on whose banks these towns lie. Okay. So you're there. Your options are Kanpur, Haridwar, Srinagar, and Lucknow. And you say Kanpur lies on Gomti. The options are Kanpur on Gomti, Haridwar on Yamuna, Srinagar on Jhelum, or Lucknow on Ganga. Now, your options over here, you need to know, people, that the Kanpur town lies on the banks of the river Ganga. Famous set because Kanpur is very famous for its. I'll tell you the reason. Ganga is being polluted a lot. Okay, so Kanpur was regarded as a very famous, place for pollution because it was industrialized. They have the leather industry and everything over there. So clearly there was a huge environmental concern at that point of time that Kanpur was really polluting the Ganga. Okay, because all the industrial effluents used to be let out in the river. So Kanpur famously lies on the banks of the river Ganga. Haridwar also famously lies on the banks of the river Ganga. It's a very famous tourist station and a religious place. So clearly a lot of people go there. Haridwar is important because here this is the place where the Ganga actually enters the plains. Okay, so Haridwar is important like that. Srinagar lies on the banks of the Jhelum. Okay, very famously, Srinagar lies on the banks of the Jhelum. Jhelum travels through a proper valley. Okay, and it meanders over there. Then it lies on the bank. There is Srinagar on its banks, and the river goes forward. Okay, to meet the Indus. And lastly, Lucknow, famously Lucknow, the town of Lucknow lies on the banks of the river Gomati. Okay, so your only option is going to be Srinagar, option C. So A is your final answer. You say that Srinagar lies on the banks of River Jhelum, and that is correctly matched. The rest of the options are, as you can see, Kanpur and Haridwar on the banks of the Ganga, and Lucknow on the banks of Gomati. All right. Question 129. In which one of the following places is the Shompen tribe found? Okay. Now, this is a heavy question because it was clearly, I don't know from where we've derived this question, but it is, I can relate it to the current affairs right now also. We are looking at, this is one of the largest, how do you say, isolated tribes in the world. Okay. And one of the very last ones, because there are not many isolated tribes in the world. This one is, okay. We are looking at the Shompen tribe. Your options are Lakshadweep Islands, Spiti Valley, Nilgiri Hills, or Nicobar Islands. Okay. Now, Lakshadweep is actually Lakshadweep and Nicobar are both islands somewhere in the sea. Whereas Spiti Valley means you're talking about Himachal, and Nilgiri Hills means you're talking about that Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala area. Okay. Okay. Shompen, the name itself tells you this tribe is famously from the. I'll give you a picture for it. That should help out. This famously from the Nicobar Island. Okay, this is a famous tribe in the Nicobar Islands. They are a semi-nomadic tribe and it is highly isolated. See, this is what we call them. We are calling them a particularly vulnerable tribal group. Okay, because they rely heavily on hunting and gathering and rudimentary horticulture, and they prefer the moon as a goddess or something, and that is how they are going to worship. That is their culture. Okay, and now the problem with this tribe is that the differences here are normally the tribes of the Andaman archipelago are negroid in origin. Okay, so जैसे अफ्रीकन्स दिखते हैं वैसे तरह के फीचर्स फेशियल फीचर्स होते हैं नॉर्मली सारे अंडमान के ट्राइब्स के. ओके, शोम्पेन इज यूनिक इन द सेंस कि वो थोड़े मोंगलॉइड ओरिजिन के हैं. ओके, मोंगलॉइड ओरिजिन माने जैसे ईस्ट एशियंस या एशियंस जैसे दिखते हैं वैसे 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 दिखते हैं ये लोग. ओके, दोज आर द शोम्पेन ट्राइब्स. यू कैन सी ओवर हियर, देयर इज अ पिक्चर ओवर हियर. ओके, so that is how the Shompen tribes looks. And normally जो निकोबारी ट्राइब्स होते हैं वो थोड़े से coastal villages में रहते हैं. These people live in the interiors of the forest. Okay, this is the difference. Their racial origin and the place where they live. That is how they differentiate from the rest of the tribes. Okay, now the problem with these people is of course their language is also very different, and sometimes people from the same group cannot speak the same language. The problem or the reason why we are looking up this tribe is for this project. Okay, there is this Great Nicobar project that the government is intent on doing. It is important for us because we are looking to the fact that you guys have to understand. Wait a minute. Okay, see, this is India. Okay, this is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands over here. This is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and we are saying it is very close. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are very close to this Malacca Strait. Okay, this Malacca Strait and this entire East Asian, the gateway to Asia. This is the gateway to East Asia, right? So we are saying this is very close. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands are very close to this gateway to East Asia. Okay. Also, there is another problem that normally we have to rely on either Colombo or Singapore for all our major port things. Like those are the major ports around us, which will deal with large, proper international shipping. Okay, if you're looking at proper international shipping, then we are dealing with either Colombo or Singapore, and Singapore over here. Okay, we are not looking to do that anymore. Okay, we want something of our own, and that is why we are developing another place over here, which is called as Galathea Bay. Okay, so Galathea Bay is this part. Okay, we are looking at, you can see this region. It is the prominent coastal region of Great Nicobar Islands. Okay, it is the southeastern region of this, and we are trying to build our 13th. Normally we have 12 major ports, right? So we are trying to build our 13th major port over there. Okay, now the reason why we are discussing at all this particular Shompen tribe is because this Great Nicobar Island, this particular Great Nicobar project is going to have many environmental concerns, including biodiversity and these indigenous tribes that live over there. Okay, if you are going to try to build up what we are essentially trying to do in that project is that we are trying to build an international container transshipment terminal, the one like Colombo or Singapore. Okay, we are trying to do that, and we are also trying to have a greenfield international airport over there. Okay, so look at the capacity of that airport. We are trying to handle 4,000 peak passengers. Okay, there is also a power plant and a township in planning. Okay, we are also planning all this. All right, now this is the Great Nicobar project because clearly we are trying to use our advantage in the seas. Okay, we have an advantage based on the location of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the sea, when we are trying to use it to our benefit. Okay, now the problems that come with it are this, that one, first of all, the beaches of this place, the Galathea Bay, where we are trying to build our 13th major port, that happens to be the nesting ground for the leatherback sea turtle. Okay, we are looking to say ki there is a famous sea turtle over there, the world's largest marine turtle. And once you start any sort of construction or anything over there, you destroy the habitat of this particular species, that species is going to start to dwindle. Okay, you do not destroy the habitat of such species. That is the general idea. Okay, and lastly, the environmental concerns would be habitat loss and this indigenous Shompen tribe. So once again, that becomes a problem because then somehow you're also going to affect the forest where these people live. Okay, so that is also going to be an issue. Even though we have the proper permissions, the National Green Tribunal and all has given permissions, but there will always be these environmental concerns. Okay, okay. Is this good, people? Huh? That should be the general idea. So for us, once again, the reason why we are even discussing this is because it was in news for this reason. So Shumpin, and also because I think if this is a question from before, from some time before, then it was probably because this tribe went and voted for the first time in a general election in 2024, I think. So that must also have been one reason for it to be in news. So you know usually, right, that the questions that you're usually asked in newspapers, you know, the things that you feel have come from the left field and you have no clue where they are coming from, usually have their root somewhere in the current affairs. Okay, usually न्यूज में कभी तो होते हैं, इसलिए आपको पूछा जाता है ये. Okay. Okay. So here we are. We are saying that the Shumpin tribe is found in the Nicobar Islands. Give me a moment before I. Good. Here we are. At Barren Island, the only active volcano in India is situated in Lakshadweep, Nicobar Islands, Minicoy or Andaman Islands. Okay, we are looking at the various islands. You want to, you know, Barren Island is in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Okay, now you have to figure whether it is Andaman or Nicobar. You know clearly that Barren Island lies a little in the Andaman Islands. There is no, there is nothing over there of that sort of thing. कुछ discuss करने लायक नहीं है. Andaman Islands में lie करता है. Barren Island, that is where it lies. India's only active volcano. Not only India's only active volcano, it is Asia's only active volcano. Currently तो पूरे एशिया का इकलौता active volcano है वो, जो and thankfully समुंदर में है, so we are not that worried about it. Okay, so सदर्न एशिया की बात कर रही हूँ मैं. सदर्न एशिया का एक्टिव वोल्केनो है वो. You'll find multiple of them in Indonesia and everything. ईस्ट एशिया में बहुत मिल जाएंगे, साउथ ईस्ट एशिया में. Okay, here we are. Which one of the question 131? Which one of the following areas of India produces largest amount of cotton? Okay, you're talking of the black cotton soil, famously Deccan Plateau pe milta hai. So you are looking at specifically that part. Okay, so you are looking, the regions that you are looking at is going to be the states of the highest ranking states will be Gujarat, Maharashtra, and then followed by तेलंगाना. ओके, दीज आर द 3 स्टेट्स. तो अगर आपको गुजरात, महाराष्ट्र एंड तेलंगाना को काउंट करना है तो फिर कहाँ आएंगे आप? Clearly you are at western and southern India. Okay, you'll be, this is the answer that you're looking for. You are talking of the highest ranked states regarding the production of cotton will be Gujarat, followed by Maharashtra and then by Telangana. Okay, so famously western and southern India will be the reason. Abhi cotton ke liye, the reason why cotton is grown here is because one, first of all, coastal regions, right? So थोड़ा coastal regions मिल जाता है, ठीक ठाक बारिश मिलती है. You need both heat as well as rainfall, right? You need a good amount of temperature, you need a good amount of rainfall, and you need frost free, some 200 frost free days. That is the exception for cotton, right? So clearly that is the line that demarcates the cotton growing areas from the non cotton growing areas. So clearly you have to be below the you have to be in a warm place, thoda sa hot warm place chahiye. So that is going to be western and southern India. Okay? And the soil helps a lot. The black soil helps a lot. Okay. Question 132. Among the following union territories, the female literacy is highest according to the census 2011. Lakshadweep, Chandigarh, Puducherry, and Daman and Diu. No, this there. The answer is going to be Lakshadweep. Okay. Lakshadweep has the highest female literacy according to census 2011 among all these union territories. Good. Let's look at what tundras are. Okay. Tundras are hot deserts, cold deserts, tropical rainforests, or deciduous forests. Famously, we had discussed this yesterday also when we had looked at different biomes. And I had shown you that the tundra biome lies to the northernmost part of the world, and then followed the south of it will be the taiga biome, and then the temperate biomes and all that, right? Okay. So now tundra is clearly a place where it has permafrost cover. Okay, the cover is it is permanently frosted over, and it is covered by ice mostly. Okay, let's look at the place. See, this is what the tundra looks like generally. Ignore the car, that is a different car. Okay, this is what the tundra usually looks like. You can see these little icebergs and stuff like that. You can see the ground. You can clearly see the ground is full of mosses and lichens. Okay, look at this part also. This is also a frozen tundra region, mostly covered by ice. and it does not have any. Can you see any trees over here? Right, there are no trees over here because it has a very short growing season. So you will mostly see that the temperatures are really low. Okay, the soil is really barren. That is, it's a very cold, barren kind of a place. Okay, so even if you have some kind of vegetation growing, it will be in the form of mosses and lichens. Okay, that is the kind of vegetation you will get. Okay, and it is almost permanently covered by ice, mostly permanently covered by ice. Okay, so you can only refer to it as a cold desert. Okay, the only possible answer could be a cold desert. What can you say about the hot desert? Anything that defines a desert, the defining characteristic of a desert is not its temperature, it is its aridity. Okay, the fact that it does not have any moisture. That is how you go to define deserts. Okay, the presence of the very striking feature of aridity. It is very, very arid. Okay, meaning it has no moisture, no water vapor. So that is not no water vapor, very less moisture, very less water vapor, very less humidity. Okay, that is what you are saying when you're talking about deserts. So tundra will be classified as a cold desert. Okay, a hot desert is essentially the same characteristics, a lot of aridity plus high temperatures. Okay, so that is what you're saying when you're looking at hot deserts. Famous examples will be Thar in India or Sahara in Africa. Those are very famous examples of hot deserts. Okay, look at tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest will be found in the tropics. Okay, you can even find you can look at the rainforests are basically places where you have multiple trees growing with different growing seasons and stuff like that. So every tree has a very different growing season. So whenever you look at the forest, it is like full of trees. Okay, even if a tree is outside, it's in the shedding season or something, some other tree is definitely in a blossoming stage. So clearly you feel that the forest always look very full and very green. Okay, that is essentially what the rainforests are. So obviously you will have the reason why it has so many multiple varieties of trees is one, first of all, temperature, and secondly, the rainfall. Okay, so here you will have both good amount of precipitation as well as rainfall. As far as rainforests are concerned, you will have a good amount of precipitation and rainfall both. Okay, deciduous forests are those which have a very specific growing season and a shedding season. Okay, so there will be that specific season in the fall when the leaves will be shed. Okay, so that will be a deciduous forest. India has plenty of those deciduous forests, and those are economically important for us also. Okay, okay. All right. Question 134. The present Indian monetary system is based on gold reserve system, convertible currency system, proportional reserve system, or minimum reserve system. The option is going to be minimum reserve system. And let me show you why. This is what we are looking at when we talk of a minimum reserve system. Okay, we are saying that we have to issue any currency in our Indian government in India. The RBI has to maintain a total minimum reserve of 200 crores. Okay, so 200 crore, out of which 115 crore has to be in the form of physical gold coins or bullions. वो gold के bars नहीं आते वैसा वाला. Okay, so we are looking at physical gold coins or bullions at least of the value of 115 crore, and the rest of that money has to be in the form of foreign exchange securities or foreign currencies. Okay, वो हम अपने पैसे में नहीं दूसरों की currency में रखते हैं. So 85 crores in the form of foreign currencies or foreign exchange securities, and 115 crores in the form of gold bullion or gold coins. Okay, once you have met this criteria of 200 crores, then depending on what the economy requires, उतने आप currency notes issue कर सकते हैं. Okay, कोई upper limit नहीं है, कोई लोअर लिमिट नहीं है. डिनोमिनेशंस पे लिमिट है कि आप 10,000 रुपए के ऊपर का नोट नहीं छाप सकते. दैट इज द थिंग, बट अदरवाइज अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट गवर्नमेंट का ऐसा कोई, वो तो इकोनॉमी पे डिपेंड करता है कि हमको कितने नोट्स को सर्कुलेशन में रखना है या कितने इशू करने हैं या नहीं करने. ओके, दैट इज अ सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव कि वो कितना बोलेंगे, कितना इशू करना है कितना नहीं, आरबीआई डिसाइड नहीं करता है. ओके, वो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट डिसाइड करेगा. इज दिस गुड? तो वी आर गोइंग विद द मिनिमम रिजर्व सिस्टम. ओके, प्लीज रिमेंबर द स्प्लिट. कम से कम 200 crores चाहिए, जिसमें से 115 crores has to be in the form of physical gold coins or bullion, and another 85 crores has to be in the form of foreign exchange securities or foreign currencies. Okay, ठीक. Moving forth. Where do you find the Isle of Youth? Okay, योर ऑप्शंस आर नियर बहामास, नियर जमैका, नियर सेंट लूसिया, नियर क्यूबा। अब ये सब कुछ आपको यही मिल रहा है व्हाट डू यू से, कैरेबियन के आसपास, अटलांटिक में ये सारे आइलैंड्स। फेमस आइलैंड है ये, इसका हिस्ट्री है क्यूबा के साथ। यहाँ पर पहले बहुत पुराने जमाने में इन द 50s, अर्ली 50s, वहां पर फिडेल कैस्ट्रो यूज्ड टू बी द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ क्यूबा, ओके, फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम। So when he was young and he was rebelling against the government at that time, erstwhile government, he was imprisoned in the prison over there. Okay, at that time the island used to be known as the Isle of Pines. Okay, it used to pine trees की वजह से उसको Isle of Pines बुलाते थे. Okay, then later on, since Fidel Castro was kept in prison over there, and when he was later released, he did most of his work also over there. Okay, so a lot of youth followed him in that place, and उनके जितने भी famous activities हुआ करते थे, youth centers वगैरह हुआ करते थे, those started building up in that particular place. Okay, this island was renamed quite later in the late 70s. उन्होंने कभी तो rename किया था इस island को as the Island of Youth, Isle of Youth. The reason was कि वहां पर एक हरिकेन आया था, अल्मा नाम का एक हरिकेन आया था, एंड वो आइलैंड को बहुत बुरी तरह से डेवस्टेट करके गया. ओके, इट रियली ruined and really demolished the island. Then after that, a lot of youth came over there and they started in the rebuilding and restructuring and everything of the island. Okay, उसका पूरा जो rebuilding and redevelopment था वो वहाँ के youth ने करवाया. Hence famously उनको उनको ट्रिब्यूट करके इस आइलैंड का नाम Isle of Youth रखा था फिडेल कैस्ट्रो ने. Okay, so this is a famous isle over there in Cuba, near Cuba. Okay, famous. Historical mention बहुत होता है उसका current history के साथ, modern history में. Okay, next, which one of the following continent is the third largest continent? We are looking at the third largest continent. Okay, your options are साउथ अमेरिका, एशिया, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, नॉर्थ अमेरिका. ओके, यार आपको पता होना चाहिए आपके आइलैंड्स कैसे होते हैं, सब सॉरी आपके कॉन्टिनेंट्स कैसे होते हैं. सबसे बड़ा कॉन्टिनेंट होता है एशिया. ओके, फॉलोड बाय अफ्रीका. अफ्रीका इज द सेकंड लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट. देन आप साउथ अमेरिका, सॉरी नॉर्थ अमेरिका एंड साउथ अमेरिका. ओके, दीज आर द थर्ड एंड फोर्थ लार्जेस्ट कॉन्टिनेंट्स. ओके, उसके बाद आप फॉलो अप करते हो विद, नाउ बचे कितने आइलैंड्स आपके पास, यूरोप, बचे कितने कॉन्टिनेंट्स आपके पास, यूरोप, अंटार्कटिका एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया. सो दिस इज योर ऑर्डर. फिफ्थ fifth is going to be fifth is going to be Antarctica, sixth is going to be Europe, and seventh is going to be Australia, Oceania. Okay, तो वो जितने छोटे मोटे island groups आते हैं वो सारे include किए जाएंगे. Okay, this is the order of the continents by from largest to smallest by area. Okay, 7 continents. सबसे बड़ा Asia, followed by Africa, then North America, then South America, followed by Antarctica, then Europe, and then Australia. Okay, the third largest कौन सा हुआ इसमें? Obviously North America. Okay, North America is going to be the third largest. Your option is going to be D, North America. Okay, that is going to be the third largest continent. In which one of the following layers of the atmosphere do all weather phenomena occur? Okay, you're looking at that particular layer in the atmosphere where all the weather phenomena will occur. For any sort of weather phenomenon to occur, you require water vapor and you require dust. Okay, अब ये आपको एक ही layer में मिलता है, and that layer is going to be troposphere. Okay, the one that is closest to the surface of the earth. The layers from the surface of the earth to the top is the order is going to be troposphere. This satta is going to be, trust me in the exam. Okay, so if this is the surface of the earth, the layer closest is going to be known as troposphere. Okay, we say trust me in the exam ना, ST बड़ा कर लेते हैं. Okay, now see how this goes. Okay, we say troposphere, this is the first one. ST is for stratosphere. Okay, so within the stratosphere you will have the ozonosphere. Okay, the lower part is going to be the ozonosphere. All right, then above the stratosphere lies the ME as in mesosphere, which is the middle layer. Okay, so you say that is the mesosphere. Above that lies the thermosphere. Okay, and ideally the lower layer of the thermosphere is famously known as the ionosphere. Okay, and above the thermosphere you have the exosphere. Okay, so these are the various layers of the earth from the surface to the top. Okay, so the troposphere is the layer, this particular layer that we are talking about is the layer that contains the water vapor and dust. Okay, the layers above it do not have any water vapor or dust because clearly the air does not travel that far up. Okay, this layer clearly has the greatest density. It's far denser at the equator than at the poles, obviously. Okay, So troposphere, because of the presence of water vapor and dust, clearly whatever weather phenomenon are going to occur will occur in this particular layer. Okay, that is going to be the troposphere. Stratosphere, like we just discussed, it is famous because it contains the ozone layer in the lower part of its, how do you say, in the lower part of the layer. And because of the ozone, clearly those UV rays will be absorbed, and this layer is a little okay. Stratosphere is a little hotter. Mesosphere, the layer above it, is the coldest layer. The phenomenon that you're looking here for is the meteor shower. Okay, so when meteoroids pass through the atmosphere of the Earth, they are called meteors, and they are usually burnt up in this layer because of the compression of the gas, whatever little gas you can find over here, that gets compressed, and because of that, they will burn up. That will lead to friction and heat, and they will burn up over here. Okay, so those are those things that you see in the sky, and you call that the meteor shower. Okay, so that is the phenomenon here. Thermosphere is famous because here it is going to be really hot again, but the density is very, very low. There's going to be very low density of air. So I don't know how much heat you're going to feel over here. This also contains ionosphere, which will reflect back any waves, radio waves sent from the Earth. Okay. Thermosphere is also famous for the occurrence of auroras. You will see auroras happening in this particular layer, and also because various satellites and everything will orbit in this particular layer. Okay, this is the height at which most satellites and everything orbit. Even the ISS is orbiting in this particular layer. And then the exosphere is something that lies way outside it, very less density, absolutely no density at all. So you are looking at that these all layers. Okay, your answer here is going to be obviously troposphere, where all the weather phenomena come. Okay. All right. Question 138 in the given map. Which one of the following pairs of ocean currents are shown? You're looking at two pairs of ocean currents, and you wish to name which these ocean currents are. Your options are Benguela, Falkland, Agulhas, Guinea, Canary and Humboldt, and Benguela and Guinea. Okay. Obviously, we are looking at Africa. Okay, this particular continent that you're looking at is Africa. Okay, which are the currents which is this one, the one that is moving upwards is going to be a cold current. Okay, the one moving upwards is going to be a cold current. The one moving downwards is going to be a warm current. Okay, so you're looking at a combination of a warm and a cold current on the west coast of Africa. Okay, on the west coast of Africa, the colder current is obviously going to be Benguela. Okay, now, Benguela and Falkland is also a cold current, and it is usually found in the it is found in the Atlantic Ocean, but to the south. Okay, you're looking at the south for it. Okay, so we are not looking at this. We are not looking at another cold current. We are not looking at something that is coming from the poles to the equator. We are looking at something that is coming from the equator to the pole. So this is the current that you're looking at. You're looking at the Benguela and the Guinea current. Okay, there is a Gulf of Guinea, right over there. So we are looking at these two currents. Benguela is the cold current that is moving upwards in the northern direction, and Guinea is the current that is moving southwards in the downward direction. Okay. Now these two, one is warm, one is cold, obviously. So when they meet over here, they form a nice thermal front, and that will affect the weather, obviously, over there in that region. Plus, the mixing of the warm and cold currents is also responsible for very rich fishing grounds. We have already discussed this yesterday, that the cold currents brings about the upwelling of cold waters will bring about nutrients. Okay, nutrients are very essential and helpful for the planktons, and it is the little fish which come to eat the planktons, and the large fish come to eat the little fish. So clearly, it's a great fishing ground. It makes for great fishing grounds, very rich fishing grounds. Okay, these are the currents that we are talking about. Agulhas is a current in the Indian Ocean. Okay, so yeah, and Guinea, once again, we are not talking about that. Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah. Agulhas is a current here. We are talking about the current over here. Okay. So Agulhas is a current in the Indian Ocean, and Guinea will be again a current over here. Okay. Can you see this? This is Gulf of Guinea. So this is where the current will flow. So once again, this is not the combination that we were looking for. Canary and Humboldt. You're looking at Canary and Humboldt. Okay. This is the Canary current over here in this part. Cool Canary current, which is partly responsible for the Sahara Desert also over here. Okay. So there will be a cool, if you're looking at the Canary current, it is over here, and this is the Canary current, and this is the Humboldt current. Okay. Both cold currents. Canary is cool, Humboldt is really cold. So clearly you're looking at these two currents. So once again, that also cannot be a combination. Your combination was this Benguela and this Benguela and this Guinea. Okay, this was the combination that you were looking for on the coast of western coast of Africa. Okay, and this was Agulhas. We are saying this was Agulhas, and which one was Guinea? We're talking next about Guinea. So clearly, and Falkland current is over here. This is the Falkland current. Okay, that will essentially make the Benguela colder, but that doesn't make much of a difference over here. Okay, this is the Falkland current that you're talking about. All right, options being C, Benguela and Guinea. Okay, those will be the two currents that you're looking at. Question 139 says, air mass near the Earth's surface is warmer because it is warmed by terrestrial radiation, or it contains dust particles, or it radiates heat, or is it far from the sun? Okay, far from the sun is not clearly an option, and air mass near to the Earth's surface is not warmer because it radiates. The air mass itself does not radiate heat, and not because the dust particles are simply important because they are hygroscopic in nature, and because it also represents how dry the place is. Okay, if there is more precipitation, then clearly there will be less dust. So the dust particles are a measure of dryness or aridity. Okay, it's a measure of that. The option is going to be that the air mass near the Earth's surface is warmer because it is heated by the terrestrial radiation. Okay, let's see how the Earth's surface heats up. Okay, you are saying that usually there is a sun. Okay, we are talking about the sun over here. So what the sun does is that it gives out heat. Okay, that insolation is received by the Earth. Okay, so you say this is the Earth. So the sun's insolation reaches the Earth and it heats up the Earth. Okay, it heats up the surface of the Earth, not the atmosphere. Please remember, the sun rays or the insulation does not heat up the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, that is not what we are talking about. We say that sun's insolation reaches the Earth and it heats up the Earth. Okay, the Earth heats up, becomes a radiating body, and emits a radiation. Okay, but the kind of radiation it emits is going to be a low energy radiation, especially as compared to the sun. Okay, and that radiation is called as the long wave radiation of the Earth. Okay, now when that radiation is given out, when that particular long wave radiation is given out, the layer which is closest to the Earth, we call it layer number 1. Okay, the atmospheric layer closest to the Earth will be heated up first. Okay, from that long wave radiation, the long wave radiation that the Earth releases, this layer is heated by that. Okay, and then the layer above it, say there is another layer lying above this atmospheric layer, that layer is heated by the first layer, by the layer below it. Okay, the second layer, layer number 2, is heated by layer number 1 itself. Okay, why? Because this layer is hot now. Okay, layer 1 has become hot because it acquired heat from the Earth's terrestrial radiation. Okay, so obviously it will transfer the heat by the process of conduction to the layer above it. Okay, and then 2 will transfer the heat that it had to the layer above it, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is how it is going to work. So the layer below is going to transfer the heat to the layer above it. Okay, so obviously you know that in this whole heat transfer, clearly the fourth layer is going to be far colder than the first layer, meaning that the first layer is clearly a little warmer than any other layer above it. Okay, and the reason being that it is directly warmed up by the Earth's terrestrial radiation. Okay, it is because of that it is warmed up. Okay, because it is the first layer to receive the Earth's terrestrial radiation. Everything that it passes on forward, from first to second, from second to third, and from third to fourth, clearly the amount of heat transfer will become lesser and lesser with each level. Okay, okay. So your answer here, so obviously that is the reason why you will even why we say that the temperature below or closer to the surface of the Earth are warmer, and the air way above the surface of the Earth is colder, because this is the way in which the heat is being transferred. And clearly, obviously, because of that, the layers which are away from the surface of the Earth are going to be colder, far colder than the ones closer to it. Okay. Okay, question 140. Jet streams are usually found in the troposphere, ionosphere, mesosphere, or the ozonosphere. Okay, your options are going to be actually jet streams जो होते हैं, अगर उसका exact location पूछा जाए तो वो tropopause होता है. Okay, just above the troposphere. That is where the jet streams are usually found. But since we do not have the option of tropopause, we'll go with the option of troposphere, because that is where the jet streams, the uppermost layer, or the upper boundary of the troposphere is where you will find them. Okay, the jet streams. Now, like we discussed earlier, jet streams are those proper, usually meandering kind of winds, okay, usually blowing from west to east. You're looking at those jet streams, okay, and they are not usually formed at the equator, okay. For jet streams to form, you need two opposing air masses, okay. You need a warm air mass and you need a cold air mass to meet each other, okay. And because of the thermal difference between their temperatures, there will be a pressure difference, and because of that pressure gradient, clearly there'll be a wind, okay, because wind cannot blow without a pressure gradient. Wind has to blow from a high pressure region to a low pressure region. Without that pressure gradient, there is no possibility of a wind blowing. Okay. So jet streams are usually formed at these junctions. So jet streams will be formed at the boundaries of the convection cells, say Hadley to Ferrel or Ferrel to polar. So this is where usually the jet streams will be formed. Okay. And they are usually formed way above the surface of the earth, some 9 to 16 kilometers from the surface of the earth. Okay. So you ideally tropopause, but we can go with the troposphere. Okay. Jet streams that are usually important for India are going to be the easterly jet stream, which brings about a burst of monsoon, or the westerly jet stream that brings the western depressions into India and Punjab. Okay, and northern Himalayas. You're looking at that region. Okay, so jet streams. The answer here is going to be troposphere. The rest of it is not our question, so we are not dealing with those questions. They are clearly not from geography. Okay, so this paper is done. This was 4th of July. The one that we did was 4th of July. Now we go to the 5th of July. 1 minute. See, this is the renaming and everything that we were looking at in Isle of Youth. So that is what they called it. Juventud. That's what he made. He wanted to honor the thousands of students and young volunteers who labored to reconstruct and revolutionize the island after that hurricane hit it. Okay. And this he did in 1978. No problem. We are done with this also. Okay. Now we move on to the next question paper that is for today, the 5th of July. Okay. You were attempting this paper today. Look at the following questions. We are saying, consider the following statements. The Tropic of Cancer passes through 8 Indian states. India lies entirely in the northern hemisphere. These are the two statements, and you have to verify if these two statements are correct, or both are correct, or neither is correct. Okay. Okay. Here's your question once again. Okay. The Tropic of Cancer passes through 8 Indian states. Yes, that is true. The Tropic of Cancer does pass through 8 Indian states. You are looking specifically at these ones. Okay, this is where the Tropic of, I don't know how to mark it now. A little above, थोड़ा सा ऊपर राजस्थान से पास करवाना है उसको. But this is where it's going to pass. Okay, this is how it's going to pass. So, sorry, I'll just try to do this again. ठीक है? Now we have the Tropic of Cancer. So we are saying that these are the states through which the Tropic of Cancer passes. Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Tripura, and Mizoram. Okay, these are the 8 states. These are 8 states through which it passes, and this is the order in which it is going to run. So please remember these 8 states. The setta is going to be Mira JCB GMT or Garam Cheese Battameez. Okay, that's the famous setta over here. So you are going for this particular, yeah. This is, so we go with the first statement is correct, that Tropic of Cancer passes to 8 Indian states. And India lies entirely in the northern hemisphere. Yeah, sure, of course. There is no part of India that lies in the southern hemisphere, not anymore. We are saying this is the equator. Okay, this is where the equator passes from. So India lies completely in the southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. Okay, it does not lie in the southern hemisphere at all. So both statements are absolutely correct. Okay, we'll go with both statements to be correct. For question 126, the answer is both statements are correct. Both 1 and 2 are correct. Okay, okay. Moving forward, the question is, the roaring 40s are ocean currents in the Pacific, trade winds near the equator, strong westerly winds in the southern hemisphere, and monsoon winds of India. Okay, roaring 40s are famously westerlies. Okay, when you are looking at westerlies, we have already discussed this yesterday. We say that between the equator and 30 degrees north and south, you have at 30 degrees north and south, you have the subtropical highs over here, and another subtropical high at 30 degrees south over here. Okay, between these, you have the northeast and the southeast trade winds blowing. Okay, then between the subtropical high and the subpolar low. Okay, you have, I don't have time for it. I have no space for it over here. Okay, subpolar low. Okay, you have the subpolar low over here. You have the westerlies. Okay, these are the westerlies that are blowing at this place. Okay, so westerlies blow from 30 to 60 degrees. If you're talking about roaring 40s, you're talking about a specific wind in the southern part of the southern hemisphere. Now, this particular wind blows between 40 degrees latitudes. Okay, 40 degrees latitudes पे blow करता है. The reason why it's called as the reason why the winds westerlies are far stronger in the southern hemisphere is because of absence, very less amount of land as compared to water. Okay, the land in the southern hemisphere is clearly very less as compared to water. So basically, there is no obstruction. There is no a factor of continentality influencing the direction or the speed of the wind like that. So clearly, because of that, the wind can blow very freely and unobstructed. And these westerlies in the southern hemisphere get named according to their latitudes. Okay, so if they are in the 40s, they are called as roaring 40s. If they are somewhere in the 50 degrees latitudes, they are called as furious 50s. And if they are in the 60 degrees, closer to the 60 degrees latitudes, then they are famously called as shrieking or stormy 60s. Okay, they're famously called shrieking or stormy 60s. Okay, so when we are talking of roaring 40s, we are clearly talking about the strong westerly winds in the southern hemisphere. Okay, this is what we are talking about, strong westerly winds in the southern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, the westerlies never get to be so strong. Westerlies are generally variable as opposed to the trade winds, but westerlies never get to be so strong in the southern hemisphere because clearly what happens in the southern hemisphere, westerlies never get to be very strong in the northern hemisphere because in the northern hemisphere you have a lot of land. Okay, wait a second, I'll show you the picture of the map. Okay, you are looking at the map over here. This is the, we say this is the equator. Okay, roughly this is the equator. Now clearly you can see in the northern hemisphere there is more land as opposed to water. The thing with land is it will heat up very quickly and it will cool down also very quickly. Okay, as opposed to water. So when the land starts heating up, clearly it forms a low pressure region. Okay, high temperature low pressure region, and you will see that there are these concentric isotherms, isobars, because of which it will clearly the wind and the pressure is going to be and humidity also is going to work very differently in the northern hemisphere because of these obstructions. Okay, because of these huge localized centers of high or low pressure in summers and high pressure in winters. Okay, that is what these localized centers are going to be. So clearly this is a different thing altogether. Okay, this is clearly a very different thing altogether. And because of that, the westerlies can never be very how do you say, very regular or very reliable in the northern hemisphere, but they're pretty regular and pretty reliable and very strong in the southern hemisphere, because in the southern hemisphere you clearly see that there is very less land. Okay, and more water. So clearly there is no influence of the continentality or anything of the sort, and because of that the winds are stronger. Trade winds are also generally far better. Trade winds also generally work far better in the southern hemisphere than they work in the northern hemisphere. Winds are generally stronger in the southern hemisphere. Okay. Trade winds near the equator will not be called that. Ocean currents get different names altogether, and the monsoon winds of India are famously called as the southwest monsoons. Okay, we do not call them roaring 40s, furious 50s, or something like that. Okay, question 128. By surface area, the largest freshwater lake in the world is Lake Baikal, Lake Victoria, Lake Superior, or the Caspian Sea. Okay. कैस्पियन सी पूछा है तो उसको फ्रेश वाटर लेक से निकाल दीजिए. कैस्पियन सी is generally considered as the largest lake in the world, but it is brackish water. Okay, the northern part is at least a little freshwater lake because you get a lot of influx from the rivers and stuff like that. But the southern part of the Caspian Sea is is a lot vulnerable to evaporation and prone to evaporation, and because of that, it's hot over there. So clearly, that water turns brackish. Okay, so Caspian Sea cannot be a freshwater lake. You have two options here, Lake Baikal and Lake Superior. And in that also, we have to remember that Lake Superior is the one that has the largest area, and Lake Baikal has the one that has the largest volume. Okay, by volume, clearly Lake Baikal is the one because it is also the deepest lake in the world. So Baikal by volume and Lake Superior by area. Okay, so if you're going by area, your option is going to be Superior. Where is Lake Superior? In the USA. Baikal is in Russia. So we are looking at these various lakes. Wait a minute, let me check where Lake Victoria is. I want. Okay, it is shared by Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. Let's look at this. We are looking at this lake, Lake Victoria, famous lake over here. Okay, so it is shared by Tanzania below, then there's Kenya on the east, and then there's Uganda. Okay, so this is where Lake Victoria is. All right, just in case we forgot. I thought it was just two countries, it is three. I had not taken into consideration Kenya. Okay, no problem. Moving forward, consider the following statements about the Indian monsoon. Okay, you're talking about the Indian monsoon now. You say the southwest monsoon brings most of India's annual rainfall. The retreating monsoon causes rainfall on the Coromandel coast, and the monsoon is caused by differential heating of land and sea. Okay, so these are your options. You say that the southwest monsoon brings India's most of annual rainfall. This statement is absolutely correct. Okay, we get rains in India by very different means. One, we have the pre-monsoon rainfalls also. Remember, we call them in this part of the world. In this part of India, over here in West Bengal, this is called as Kal Baisakhi. Then in Assam also we get these pre-monsoon rains, and then famously in this over here, Karnataka and Maharashtra, okay, the Konkan coast that we call. So these are called as the mango showers over here, no? And then the coffee blossoms here in Kerala and Karnataka, they are called as the coffee blossoms. Okay, so these are the pre-monsoon showers that we normally get. Okay, then there are the ones that you say during winters, huh? You get these rains. Okay, over here, what happens is from this particular region, from the Mediterranean Sea, Western depressions come all the way. They either cross the Caspian Sea or the Gulf of Persia or the Persian Gulf, and then they come over to India in this part. Okay, so when they come to India, they will usually give rains to Punjab region. Okay, and then move further forward to the Himachal Pradesh region, and over here they are blocked by the Himalayas, obviously. So they will give copious amount of snowfall in Himachal and good amount of good, nice light showers in Punjab just before the wheat harvest. Okay, so clearly this is one type of rain that we get. Another type of rain. Then another type of rainfall that we get is in from October to December. This is the kind of rainfall that we get. This is the northeast monsoon, okay, or the retreating monsoon that we call as. We say that clearly the wind direction changes because winter with the approaching winter, clearly the pressure centers change. Okay, what was low pressure becomes high pressure. What was high pressure becomes low pressure center. So now the direction of the wind in from October to December is going to be in this direction. Okay, usually these northeast trade winds will gather. These are basically northeast trade winds. Okay, what we call as northeast monsoon are basically northeast trade winds. So they blow from the land region and they blow over the sea. And while they are crossing the rest of this continent, this little peninsular part, they will give rains to this part. Okay, mostly sometime to this part also. Okay. So this is where you will get most of the rains. To Andhra and Tamil Nadu mostly, this coast will receive rainfall. And because these winds are crossing from over here, and while crossing this Bay of Bengal, they'll clearly collect all this moisture, and this moisture is finally given down to this region. Okay. So the northeast or the retreating monsoon will give rainfall to the eastern coast of Tamil Nadu and sometimes a little to Kerala as well. Okay. Kerala and Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Eastern coast of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Southeastern Andhra Pradesh. Okay. That is what we're looking at. So this is the third type of rainfall that we are going to get. And then of course, there will be those, sometimes when you found localized heat centers and then it rains, that is also one kind of rain that you get. And then of course, you come to the most important rainfall, which is that from the uh, southwest monsoons. Okay, the southwest monsoons give you the largest amount of rainfall, annual rainfall in India. A lot of, if you're going to count this rainfall, most of the rainfall basically comes from the southwest monsoon. Okay, so there are two ways into which this will appear, either like this or this way. Okay, so these are the two ways in which the monsoon enters India, and this is usually how you get the rainfall. Okay, so this is clearly the place where you will get the maximum amount of rainfall. Southwest monsoons. The retreating monsoon causes rainfall on the Coromandel coast. We just explained that, right? We say that the southwest monsoon does bring India's most of India's annual rainfall, and the retreating monsoon causes rainfall on the Coromandel coast. Okay, Coromandel coast is the Tamil Nadu coast, eastern coast of Tamil Nadu. So the retreating monsoon usually brings rainfall over there, and monsoon is caused by differential heating of land and sea. This is very important. We already, even at the beginning of the lecture, I told you that the ITCZ shifts, right? So we are saying that yes, the differential heating of land and water happens. Let's imagine this, okay? Say this is the equator. Okay, now what happens that as summer approaches, the sun starts its movement from the equator towards the tropic of Cancer. Okay, that is what the sun is going to do. It will move from the equator towards the tropic. Let's say this is the tropic of Cancer. Okay, so the sun starts its movement from the equator towards the tropic of Cancer. Now while the sun is moving from the equator towards the tropic of Cancer, clearly the pressure belts are also shifting a bit northward. Okay, the pressure belts also keep shifting northward, because what happens is that as and how the sun moves, the insolation that is directly received by the sun, the latitudes at which the insolation is directly received by the sun also keeps changing, and those keep on becoming the lowest pressure areas. Okay, so obviously this ITCZ keeps on, ITCZ is the intertropical convergence zone, that also keeps on shifting northwards with the movement of the sun. Okay, add to it the fact that usually what happens is that land heats up very quickly and water doesn't heat as much. Okay, so as and how summer approaches, especially when summer is properly well developed and at peak in India, or in the Indian subcontinent, what usually happens is this region, this entire region becomes extremely hot. Okay, and it is land and it is surrounded by land. Okay, India itself is land and it is surrounded by land. So clearly there will be a localized high temperature region over there. Okay, you also have to take in consideration the Tibet plateau over here. Okay, that is also one thing under consideration. That will also heat up very quickly, and all of this place, this entire northern India part, will form a very low temperature, very low pressure, high temperature region. Okay, low temperature, high pressure, low pressure, high temperature region. And because of that, if this is low pressure, then obviously this sea part will remain a high pressure region. Okay, the sea part remains a high pressure region. Now, winds from this part, from the high pressure region, will go to the low pressure region. That is where winds usually blow from. The pressure gradient is clearly from the high pressure to the low pressure region. So winds will blow from the high pressure part of the sea to the lower pressure part of the land. Okay, because it is summer and clearly the land is becoming very hot. So it is this differential heating and cooling of land and water that will create these localized high and low pressure centers. Usually a high pressure center in the sea and a low pressure center on land during summers, and vice versa in the winters. Okay. So this is essentially what happens, and that is why the monsoon, this is what monsoon winds are. So you're essentially saying that southeast trade winds will cross the equator and move upwards. And once they move upwards, because of the Coriolis force, they will clearly move in a different direction. Okay. So they become the southwest monsoons and give rainfall to India. And of course, most of South Asia also, but that's how this works. So we are going with all three statements. Okay. All these three statements will be correct. The Deccan Plateau is composed primarily of sedimentary rock, basaltic, igneous rock, metamorphic rock, or limestone. We are very specifically looking at, one second. We are saying the Deccan Plateau is primarily composed of basaltic igneous rock. Okay, this is our answer. Basaltic igneous rock, the reason being the Deccan Plateau is famously a volcanic plateau. Okay, it's also called as a flood basalt plateau. The reason why it is called as flood basalt is because usually what happens is one way of a volcanic eruption is there is a fissure or a fracture or a crack in the surface of the earth. And from this fissure or fracture comes out lava, very fluid lava, and it starts spreading in both directions. Okay, it starts spreading all over in both directions, and then the activity stops. Okay, because volcanic eruptions are periodic, episodic. Okay, so not periodic, episodic. So clearly the activity stops. Then next time, so essentially what happens is you can see that on the surface of the earth, clearly a layer of basaltic lava is spread. Okay, now what happens is when the activity starts again another time, when there is another eruption, a new layer of this basaltic lava will be spread again. Okay, and it is spread because it is very thin and it is very fluid, and it will spread around thinly. Okay, thin sheets banke wo spread ho jata hai. Then again, whenever there is another activity, one more volcanic eruption, then clearly another layer is formed, so on and so forth. And this is how the Deccan Plateau was formed. Okay. Now it is not like the Deccan Plateau has any southern India has any kind of volcanic hotspot beneath it. What we are looking at is a funny journey that the Indian plate had from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. Okay, so we say India used to be in the southern hemisphere, some 70-75 million years ago, we are saying India used to still be in the southern hemisphere, and then it started moving from the southern hemisphere all the way to the northern hemisphere. Okay, on its journey it passed by this place. Okay, there is this place called as Islands. So over there is a proper volcanic hotspot. Okay, so while passing by the Reunion hotspot, this thing happened to it, the Deccan Plateau happened to it. Okay, it underwent all these volcanic eruptions, and clearly the flood basalt plateau was formed, and then India moved upwards and formed the Himalayas and so on and so forth. But the Deccan Plateau is basically a gift from the Reunion Islands. Okay, that is what we are saying. So we are going with basaltic igneous rock. Our answer is going to be B, basaltic igneous rock. Okay, question 131. Match list one river with the place of origin. Yeah, this is no, you have to know this. Ganga rises in the Gangotri. Okay, Godavari famously in Trambakeshwar, Nasik. Okay, Narmada has its origin in the Amarkantak range, and Kaveri has its origin in the Brahmagiri hills. Okay, Western Ghats may have Brahmagiri hills, Kodagu district. So Karnataka, that is where the Kaveri has its origin. Okay, so this is how your thing is going to go. Ganga in the Gangotri is going to be 2, then 4, then Narmada 1, 2, 4, 1, 3. Yeah, this answer, option A, is going to be your answer. Okay, please remember Ganga has its origin in the Gangotri. Godavari, its origin once again in the Western Ghats, Trimbak, Nashik. You have Narmada has its origin in the Amarkantak and Amarkantak range, and obviously Kaveri has its origin in Brahmagiri hills. Okay. There is a famous lake over there. It seems a pond or a lake of sort from where the Kaveri rises. Okay, it's considered very sacred. Uh, it is called also some Brahma lake or something like that. But it is very sacred. It's considered sacred. Okay, question 132. The latitude that divides the Earth into two equal halves is equator, man. Equator. It is the equator that divides the Earth into two equal halves. Okay, there is a northern hemisphere and there is a southern hemisphere. Now, I am specifically looking at the equator because you have been asked about a latitude. Okay, so Tropic of Cancer is a latitude over here. Arctic Circle is another latitude over here. Okay, but you also have all of these are latitudes. Okay, so you're saying Tropic of Cancer, Equator, and Arctic Circle are all latitudes. Tropic of Cancer at 23.5 degrees north, and Arctic Circle at 66.5 degrees north. Okay, that is where these latitudes are located. There is also the prime meridian, and that also divides the Earth into two equal halves, the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. But prime meridian is not a latitude. Okay, please remember the option here cannot be prime meridian, even though it divides the Earth into two equal halves, because you have been asked about a latitude, and the prime meridian is famously a meridian of longitude. Okay, okay. Equator is a parallel of latitude. The prime meridian is famously a meridian of longitude. Okay, consider the following statements. Black soil is ideal for cultivation of cotton. Laterite soil is rich in humus. Which of the following statements given above are correct? Okay, you have been considered. You've been asked about black soil and laterite soil. Okay, black soil is famously called black soil because of the kind of color it has, or also because of the origin of it. Okay, so now basically black soil comes from the weathering of the basaltic rock. Okay, so obviously it will contain those minerals also, and hence the color. Black soil is famously ideal for cultivation of cotton because of the minerals it contains, and also because it has that self-ploughing ability. So clearly it has, when it is dry, it can form cracks, so it is well aerated. When it is wet, it becomes sticky, and clearly that is also considered good. So it is generally considered a very good soil for cultivation of cotton. Okay, so that is black soil for you. So this is absolutely correct. Okay, this statement is correct. Second statement says laterite soil is rich in humus. The way in which laterite soil is formed is laterite soil is usually found in a place where you have very high temperatures and very high precipitation. Okay, so you are looking at the western coast of India, where you have very high temperatures and very high precipitation, and a little on the eastern coast as well. Okay, and the southern part of India. We're looking at the southern part of India. Now, the reason why it is called as laterite soil is because the name comes from the Latin word for brick. Okay, so bricks meaning ईंटों की बात करें हम लोग. So we are saying कि bricks, this soil is usually considered so deficient in nutrients and humus that it is used to make bricks. Okay, for this soil to be the reason why the soil is not considered rich in humus. This statement is wrong that the soil is rich in humus, because it is considered extremely deficient in humus. Since this soil is formed in a place which has very high temperatures and very high precipitation, a lot of leaching will occur. Okay, whatever nutrients are present in the soil will usually be washed away. Okay, the very high temperature usually causes the biological decomposition to happen very, very quickly, because of which the humus will not remain in the soil for a very long time. Okay, so whatever, it is not like there is not any humus being contributed to the soil, but since the rate of decomposition is so high, clearly the humus doesn't remain in soil for a very long time, and it's generally considered very poor or deficient in humus. Okay, that is the answer with the laterite soil. If you really want to cultivate something in laterite soil, which is a soil found on the Kerala coast, on the Malabar coast, then the way to do it is by treating the soil. Okay, उसको थोड़ा nutrients से treat करना पड़ता है, and then उसके बाद ये fertilizers से वगैरह, and then that can happen properly. So how many? Which statement is correct? One is correct. Okay, we'll go with one. Which one of the following is the highest mountain peak located entirely within India? This is a famous thing now. Mount Everest. Let's say the world's highest mountain peak is going to be Mount Everest. It is shared by Tibet and Nepal. Okay, the southern part, the Nepal part is important. It is called as Sagarmatha over there, and famous peak, right? Mount Everest is a famous peak. Next, you move on to another important peak, the Annapurna. Okay, Annapurna is again in Nepal, and that is also an important peak. वो इंडिया में नहीं लाई करता है, कहीं से भी वो इंडिया में नहीं लाई करता है अन्नपूर्णा. Okay, Kanchenjunga, famously shared between India and Nepal. Okay, Kanchenjunga is another famous peak shared between India and Nepal, and वो completely India में नहीं lie करता. So your only option is going to be Nanda Devi. Okay, Nanda Devi is a peak famously located Uttarakhand में है वो, and completely India में lie करता है. Totally India में lie करता है. Another reason why we do not consider K2 also as an important, one of the highest peaks of India, because वो disputed territory में है, वो under dispute है. पीओके में लाई करता है तो वो अंडर डिस्प्यूट में है, तो अंडर डिस्प्यूट है, तो वी क्लियरली डू नॉट काउंट दैट एज दैट. तो नंदा देवी इज गोइंग टू द पीक, हाईएस्ट माउंटेन पीक लोकेटेड एंटायरली विद इन इंडिया. ये उत्तराखंड में है. एनवायरमेंटल कंसर्न्स के लिए उसको बंद किया था. देयर इज आल्सो दैट स्टोरी अबाउट दैट सम न्यूक्लियर डिवाइस व्हिच वाज लॉस्ट वे बिफोर, कभी तो बहुत पहले से गुम हो गया था, तो वो वहां पे है, वो स्टोरी है उसकी वहां पे. सो वो भी एक चीज मिली थी, इसकी वजह से भी वो ट्रैकिंग के लिए वो काफी बंद कर दिया है. द गवर्नमेंट इज प्लानिंग टू ओपन, उत्तराखंड गवर्नमेंट इज प्लानिंग टू ओपन द ट्रैक अगेन. स्पेशली हाईएस्ट पीक नहीं जा सकते आप, नंदा देवी के पीक को नहीं जा सकते आप. आई थिंक आप नीचे के जितने भी एरियाज है थोड़ा सा लो लैटिट्यूड पे, उस पर ट्रैकिंग कर सकते हो. लेकिन वो एनवायरमेंटल कंसर्न्स के लिए, बिकॉज बहुत गंदा हो जाता है ना जब ट्रैकर्स जाते हैं, तो the tendency to pollute is also greater. So clearly वो नंदा देवी को उसके लिए बंद किया है. Okay, but नंदा देवी इंडिया का हाईएस्ट माउंटेन पीक होगा, lying completely wholly within the territory of India. Great Himalayas का पार्ट है. Okay, ठीक है. Question 135. In the northern hemisphere, the longest day of the year occurs on 21st March, 21st June, 23rd September, 22nd December. Okay. Once again, these are your questions. You are saying this is the equator. Okay, इसको equator बोला, इसको tropic of Cancer बोला, and इसको tropic of Capricorn. Okay, we are calling this tropic of Cancer, tropic of Capricorn. We say that the apparent movement of the sun is from the equator. On the equator, it is on 21st March. Okay, 21st March ko sun is exactly on the equator. Okay, directly overhead the equator. That is where the sun is. Okay, 21st June ko sun kaha jata hai? Sun goes over here. Okay, 21st June. We are talking of 21st June. Okay, on 21st June, the sun is over here. Okay, on the tropic of Cancer. Okay, then उसके बाद sun वापस नीचे आता है. The sun comes down again on 23rd September. Okay, so you're saying 23rd September को the sun is back on the equator, and on 22nd December the sun is over here at the tropic of Capricorn. Okay, 22nd December the sun is back here. Okay, So we are saying that after every 3 months, the sun will move from the equator towards the Tropic of Cancer, then back to the equator and back to the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay, that is how the movement of the sun is going to be. Now, clearly, northern hemisphere का longest day तब होता है जब sun is on the summer solstice. Okay, summer solstice माने when the sun is exactly overhead the Tropic of Cancer. The sun is exactly overhead the Tropic of Cancer on 21st June. Okay, 21st June को sun is exactly overhead the Tropic of Cancer. When the sun is directly overhead the Tropic of Cancer, the northern hemisphere will have its longest day. The southern hemisphere will obviously have its shortest day. Okay, and the places beyond the the sun, the places beyond the Tropic of Cancer get to experience 24 hours of daylight. So the sun never sets on the Tropic of Cancer. So the places beyond that will famously experience the, they are called as the land of that place is called as the land of the midnight sun, because even at midnight you can see the daylight. Okay, so that becomes a proper phenomenon at the Tropic of Cancer, at the Arctic Circle. Sorry, am I saying Arctic? I should have said Arctic Circle. I'm sorry. Beyond the Arctic Circle, places beyond the Arctic Circle are famously called as land of the midnight sun, because the sun never sets on the Arctic Circle that day. Okay, there is 24 hours of daylight at the Arctic Circle, and famously this is how this goes. Okay, so northern hemisphere का longest day is going to be on 21st June. 21st June को northern hemisphere का longest day होगा. Okay, ठीक है. Similarly, so 22nd December को हमारा shortest day होगा. Okay, northern hemisphere में जो shortest day होगा वो winter solstice के दिन होगा, which is usually on 22nd December. And 21st March and 23rd December are going to be equal days and equal nights. Okay, so you will have 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime on both 21st March and 23rd September, when the sun is exactly overhead the equator. All places in the world, all locations in the world will experience 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime as long as the sun is directly shining overhead the equator. Okay, okay. Your answer for this particular question is going to be 21st June. 21st June is going to be the answer. Okay, consider the following statements about the Himalayas. They are young fold mountains. They are the source of many perennial rivers, and they act as a climatic barrier for the subcontinent. Okay, let's consider this. You are saying Himalayas are the young fold mountains? Yes, absolutely correct. Among all the alpine orogenies, among all the orogenies, you have the alpine orogeny is the latest one. Okay, so you had the Cambrian, the Caledonian, the Hercynian, and then lastly you have the alpine orogeny. Himalayas, Rockies, Alps, and Andes belong to the alpine orogeny. They are young fold mountains. They're very young. Okay, in fact, the youngest fold mountains of the world. They are the source of many perennial rivers. Yes, Himalayas happen to be the source of many perennial rivers. The reason is the snowfall. Okay, Himalayas, first of all, it's going to act as a water divide also, and it will have plenty of snowfall also. So clearly, the rivers will find their sources over there, and that is the source of many perennial rivers. Okay, Himalayas are going to be the source of many perennial rivers. And lastly, they act as a climatic barrier for the subcontinent. Absolutely, yes, they do. They do. They most certainly do. I'll show you over here. Let us see. Okay, we are saying this is the Himalayas. Okay, and forgive me because this is going to look a little bit. We are saying this is the Himalayas. Huh? ये Himalayas है. So now what happens is कि ये सर्बिया है ना आर्कटिक रीजन की तरफ से, तो साइबेरिया की तरफ से कोल्ड विंड्स आते हैं. ओके, एंड वो पूरा ये वेस्टर्न सेंट्रल एशिया को वगैरह ट्रैवल करते हुए ऑल द वे हिमालयास तक पहुंच जाते हैं. ओके, नाउ ये कोल्ड विंड्स जो होते हैं, दे आर एक्सट्रीमली कोल्ड एंड वेरी ड्राई. ओके, सो द प्लेसेस दैट दे पास थ्रू विल आल्सो बी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय देम, एंड दोस प्लेसेस विल आल्सो टर्न इनटू वेरी कोल्ड बैरन ड्राई रीजन्स. ओके, सो ये जो पूरा सेंट्रल एशिया का रीजन है, वो पूरा इन विंड्स की वजह से इन्फ्लुएंस होके थोड़ा सा कोल्ड एंड थोड़ा सा बैरन, थोड़ा सा ड्राई बन जाता है. ओके, अब थैंकफुली ये हिमालयास जो होते हैं वो बहुत टॉल है. दे आर सम 8.5 किलोमीटर्स, राइट? सो स्टैंडिंग अबव दे आर सम 8.5 किलोमीटर्स, तो वो ये विंड्स को ब्लॉक कर लेते हैं. ओके, बिकॉज द हिमालयास ब्लॉक दीज विंड्स कमिंग आवर वे, कमिंग टू इंडिया, इस तरफ आते हुए विंड्स को ब्लॉक कर लेता है. तो बिकॉज ऑफ दैट व्हाट हैपेंस इज कि ये जो कोल्ड ड्राई विंड्स आने वाले थे ना अपनी तरफ, वो आते नहीं है. ओके, दे डू नॉट कम इनटू इंडिया, दे डू नॉट क्रॉस ओवर इनटू इंडिया. ये विंड्स कभी इंडिया में क्रॉस ओवर नहीं करते हैं, एंड उसकी वजह से क्या हो जाता है कि इंडिया रिमेन्स अ लिटिल वार्मर एंड इंडिया रिमेन्स अ लिटिल ह्यूमिड. ओके, थोड़ा सा ह्यूमिड एंड warm रह जाता है, which these winds would not have allowed India to remain. Okay, if the Himalayas weren't there, and these cold winds, cold Arctic winds could have crossed into India, what would have happened is that this entire Ganga Plains का जो region है, ये जो नीचे का Ganga Plains का region है, North Indian Plains का, वो पूरा cold, dry, barren हो जाता, एंड हम इतना पॉपुलेशन कैसे हाउस करते वहां पे, ओके क्लियरली एग्रीकल्चर वगैरह तो नहीं हो सकता है उसके बाद, सो वो बहुत प्रॉब्लमेटिक हो जाता है हमारे लिए, सो थैंक्स टू हिमालयस वो एक चीज नहीं हो गई है हमारे साथ, ओके। नाउ लेट्स लुक एट द सेकंड एडवांटेज दैट दीस ब्रिंग। वी आर सेइंग ये साउथ वेस्ट मानसून विंड्स आते हैं, राइट, यहाँ से वी आर सेइंग वो साउथ वेस्ट मानसून विंड्स आते हैं, हिमालयस उसको भी इंडिया के अंदर ही रोक लेता है, ओके। दे डू नॉट, हिमालयस डू नॉट अलाउ द साउथ वेस्ट मानसून विंड्स टू क्रॉस ओवर एंड गो बियॉन्ड, ओके। So because these winds are stopped over here, because Himalayas act as a barrier for these southwest monsoon winds also, so what happens is all that rain and all that precipitation and humidity is retained within India, is retained within the land of India. Okay, जितनी भी बारिश है वो सारी हिमालयास के साउथ में ही आएगी. So clearly all that rain remains inside, all that precipitation or water or humidity remains inside India. And because of that, India has that very specific nice climate, right? You have a tropical, subtropical, you have a dry climate, you have a wet climate. So clearly we get those alterations, and India retains its very unique climate thanks to the Himalayas. Okay, this is Himalayas are very important for the climate, very unique climate of India. India has a truly unique climate, so Himalayas are important for that. So all these options are very correct. All of these are correct. Okay. All right, moving forward, the Suez Canal. Suez Canal connects the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, Red Sea and Arabian Sea, Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea. You are looking at Suez. This is the place you're looking at. ये वाली जगह. That is Suez Canal. Okay. Now this Suez Canal is going to connect the Mediterranean. This is the Mediterranean over here, and there is the Red Sea over here. Okay, you have the Red Sea. So the Suez Canal is going to connect the Red Sea with the Mediterranean. Okay, so that is the Suez Canal. Suez Canal, remember just a few years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, there was a ship that had gotten locked inside the Suez Canal because it was supposed to travel straight through the channel and it did not, and then it went sideways and then it blocked movement on both sides and stuff like that. The Suez Canal is a famously lockless canal. Okay, you do not have lock system within the canal, and clearly because of that there are channels through which the ships can move. There's a proper water channel. Okay, just like a proper canal, there's a proper water channel through which it can move, and that's that. Okay, so Suez is famously for that. Suez, there was quite the problem when building it, but that is, it has, the reason why Suez Canal has been so important for us economically is because it gives you, now that we have checked this out, let's look at the world in general. Okay, we are saying that if you are going to take this route, okay, from the Mediterranean to the Red Sea and out over here, and then into the, from the Red Sea then out here into the Arabian Sea and into the Indian Ocean and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have access to this part of the world. Okay, to the eastern part of the world, India and Asia, and you have access to this part of the world. Okay, earlier what people used to do is when they had to go from the Mediterranean to India and Asia, they would have to turn this around. Okay, so all the way they had to go all the way from they had to circle around Africa, the continent of Africa, and then there was the Cape of Good Hope over here. That was not a very good place for navigators, and clearly you had to go from this place all the way up to the Indian Ocean and then forward. Okay, so this particular route, the Suez Canal, has cut down on the travel time as well as the shipping. This also, right, the shipping costs, because clearly now you require less fuel, less time to go to use the shipping route. Okay, and this is a very important route because a lot of your oil and natural gas exports are done through here. Okay, so it's quite the busy route. Okay, this is quite the busy route. The Red Sea, the Suez Canal route is quite the busy route. So this is the Suez Canal. Okay, next, while we are here, we will also look at the rest of these places. We are saying the Mediterranean and the Red Sea are connected by the Suez. The answer for that question is going to be this: it connects the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. Okay, this is the answer. Now let's look at the rest of the options. You are saying we look at places that connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Okay, this over here. Okay, you are looking at the Panama Canal. Okay, this will connect the Atlantic with the Pacific Ocean. Okay, this is the Atlantic, this is the Pacific. The Panama Canal usually cuts through this and it will get you there. Okay, Panama Canal is famously lock, the ones with the locks. Okay, so as long as you have those locks, the rivers are flowing. The ships are moving about in very specific channels. Okay, they're moving very specifically in a certain channel, and that is usually the lock system. Usually keeps the water levels. You can adjust the water levels. So wherever there is need, wherever there is less water, then clearly you can introduce more water, and the ships can stay afloat, and so on and so forth. Okay, the lock system is basically to keep for the buoyancy. Okay, you are trying to keep the buoyancy alive even when the water is less. Okay, so the canal height and this height is different. Okay, so this is the Panama Canal, which connects the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, you're talking about the Panama. Next is going to be, you want a connection between the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. Give me a minute. No, sorry. You are looking for a connection between the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. Wait a minute. I have a picture for, good. This is the picture for it. The Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. Okay. This is the picture for, see this is the Suez over here. Can you see the Suez Canal? It will go from the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. This particular part, this part is called as the Gulf of Suez, and this small water body is called as the Gulf of Aqaba. Okay. So now you're moving from now you say you want a connection from the Red Sea to the Arabian Sea, right? This is going to be that connection. From the Red Sea, you will have to cross over into the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Okay, there is a Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Strait is a very small, narrow water body. Okay, so from there you go on to the Gulf of Aden, and from the Gulf of Aden you go on to the Arabian Sea. Okay, so there is the Arabian Sea to the right over here. So that is where you're going. That will connect the Red Sea to the Arabian Sea. And lastly, you were looking for the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, looking for a connection between the Black and the Mediterranean Sea. So in the world, you're looking for this part. This is the Mediterranean Sea. This is the Black Sea. You're trying to connect these two. Okay. So we will try to see how this goes. Now over here, there are the Turkish Straits. You can see Turkey over here. So you have these Turkish Straits over here. There's the Dardanelles Strait and the Bosphorus Strait, and a Sea of Marmara in between. Okay, can you see the small water body? This one. So that is going to be the Sea of Marmara. Okay. So we are looking to see how we can get through here. So from the Mediterranean, let me show you the picture. Okay. See, this is the Mediterranean. Okay, this over here is the Mediterranean, and this, to the northern part of the Mediterranean, you will have the Asian Sea. See this part? This is going to be the Asian Sea. Okay, so you are into this part. Okay, this is going to be the Asian Sea. From the Asian Sea, you will get through this particular strait. Can you see the strait? This is famously called as the Strait of Dardanelles. Okay, so you're going through this strait. From this is the Strait of Dardanelles. From the Strait of Dardanelles, you go into the Sea of Marmara. Okay, and from the Sea of Marmara, you make through this part, okay, which is famously called as the Bosphorus Strait. This strait is famously called as the Bosphorus Strait. Bosphorus Strait will divide the city of Istanbul into two parts, the Asian part and the European part. Okay, so that is the Bosphorus Strait, and from there you can go into the Black Sea. Okay, okay. So this is the route. The Aegean Sea is considered the northern arm of the Mediterranean. So if you wish to go from the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, you get to the Aegean Sea. From the Aegean Sea, you move to the Dardanelles Strait. Through the Dardanelles Strait, you go to the Sea of Marmara. And from the Sea of Marmara, you make through the Bosphorus Strait into the Black Sea. Okay, that is, and this is a geopolitically very, how do you say, you just have to take care of this region like that. And the reason why it is called as the Turkish Strait is because this lies in Turkey. Okay, so ये थोड़ा सा ये economically भी important है. So yeah, question 138, which of the following Indian states does not share a border with Bangladesh? Your options are West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, and Tripura. Tripura cannot be included over here. Tripura, Assam, or West Bengal famously share a border with Bangladesh. Tripura lies, famously three parts of Tripura. Tripura is surrounded on three sides by Bangladesh, right? See over here. See, this is Tripura. It is surrounded on three sides by Bangladesh. No? It lies within, the white section is the Bangladesh section. Okay, so clearly it lies within Bangladesh, Tripura. Okay, three parts of it. Only one part is connected to this part. Now look at Assam. Assam shares its border with Bangladesh in two ways. One is this part. It is divided by Meghalaya like this. Okay, so the northern part will share its border with Bangladesh over here, and the southern part will share its border over here. Okay, this is where Assam will share its border. And Meghalaya famously shares its border And then, of course, you have West Bengal. West Bengal has the largest border with Bangladesh over here. Okay, so West Bengal shares the longest border over here with Bangladesh. Bihar famously shares a border with Nepal, and that is it. Okay, it does not share a border with any other country. Rest of them, whether it is West Bengal or whether it is Jharkhand or Uttar Pradesh, these are all Indian states that Bihar shares a border with. It will only famously share a border, international border is only with Nepal. Okay, okay. So your answer over here is going to famously be Bihar. Bihar is the one state that does not share a border with Bangladesh. Okay. Okay, last two questions. Let's do this quickly. Consider the following statements. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. The Western Ghats form a continuous range, whereas the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous. Famously, Western Ghats are considered taller than the Eastern Ghats. The reason is that the Eastern Ghats are way older than the Western Ghats. Okay, Western Ghats are considerably newer than the Eastern Ghats. So the Eastern Ghats have been eroded too much. They have been they have been subject to weathering and erosion, and because of that, clearly, and they are very old also, so clearly with age their height has been reducing now. Okay, so clearly the Eastern Ghats are a little lower in relief, whereas the Western Ghats are way taller than the Eastern Ghats. Okay, they're higher than the Eastern Ghats, and the reason is the age. Okay, secondly, Western Ghats form a continuous range, whereas the Eastern Ghats are discontinuous. Yes, because the rivers from the Eastern Ghats, from the Western Ghats. Wait a second, where is India? India is here. Okay, so now you're saying that most of these rivers will start from the Western Ghats over here. This is where the rivers start from. Okay, rivers will start from here and they'll start moving this way, and all of these major rivers will form huge, they'll cut across these range, severely erode and severely cut across the Eastern Ghats, and then move forward to the eastern coastal plains. Okay, most of the rivers from the Western Ghats will do that, because India's tilt is also a little towards the east. Okay, the Indian peninsula is slightly tilted towards the east, so most of these major rivers will start flowing through this major section through the peninsular plateau, beginning from the Western Ghats and cut across the Eastern Ghats. Okay, so Eastern Ghats are heavily eroded. Not just that, not it is not just these rivers that is eroding, it is also the age of the Eastern Ghats. Since the Eastern Ghats are so old, clearly they are getting eroded because of that. Okay, they are subject to far more erosion and weathering than the Western Ghats. That is going to be the problem with the Eastern Ghats. Okay, so here both the statements are correct. We say that the Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats because of the age, and the Western Ghats do form a continuous range, whereas Eastern Ghats are discontinuous. Western Ghats are mostly a water divide. You understand what a water divide is? We are saying that rivers can either go this way or rivers will go this way. Okay, this is how Western Ghats work. They work as a water divide. Okay, so rivers will either go towards the western coastal plains over here, which are very narrow, and hence they will fall from cliffs and make beautiful falls and stuff like that, or then they will travel all this, path of the peninsular plateau and erode the Eastern Ghats and move on and form deltas on the eastern coastal plains. Okay, so Western Ghats का वैसा erosion का कोई issue नहीं हो सकता है. Last question of the day: the standard meridian of India passes through Delhi, Kolkata, Mirzapur, Bhopal. The answer for this is very obvious. It's going to be Mirzapur near Prayagraj. Okay, the Satta to remember the standard meridian of India at 82 degrees 30 minutes is going to be Avengers of MCU. Okay, we say Avengers of MCU. We go for Andhra, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh as Mirzapur. Okay, we are talking about Mirzapur over there. So clearly, these are the 5 states through which the standard meridian of India passes, and the specific town that we are looking for is going to be Mirzapur near Prayagraj. Okay, ठीक है. That should do it. Do you have any questions, Ananya? If you have any
Yes,
questions, I can
ma'am.
answer those, or then we can simply stop. Nothing? Okay. ठीक है. All right. Thank you very much,
Ma'am,
people.
this PDF can you send me?
Can I send you the PDF? Can you send me your phone number
Yes, ma'am.
in the chat? I'll take this of it and
Yes, ma'am. कहाँ है?
don't send it to everyone. Huh? Just send it to me. Is that possible? It is possible. Or you can, Ananya, whom do you speak to? Who did your admission in in ADCI? Who was responsible for your admission in ADCI? You person to connect you online, and you could get all this information, these test papers from that person. You must have been through somebody, right?
Ma'am, my admission was from Lina ma'am.
Leena ma'am, right? Then contact Leena
Yeah.
ma'am and tell Leena ma'am to send you these question papers, and get Leena ma'am to connect with me, and then I can even send you the notes, because I was told that that person is responsible for you, the one who did your admission. You do you have Leena ma'am's number?
Yes, ma'am, but ma'am is not sending, so
Okay, I'll speak to Leena ma'am. No problem. I'll speak to Leena ma'am.
okay.
Discuss with her about this. Okay, I'll talk to Leena ma'am
Okay,
next.
okay, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. All right then. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, no,
All
no,
right.
ma'am. No.
How's your prep going? Good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. ठीक है. No problem.
Okay.
No worries.
Yes.
Thank you, Ananya. Bye bye. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
ma'am. Thank
day. Good evening. I'll stop here. Okay.